Okay, I shared the meeting notes and also some
Perfect.
friend reminders as usual, because this is a CNCF Zoom, so CNCF code of contact applies. The call should be recorded. Yes, it's recorded. Hi, Massimiliano.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Jason. I know that Michele declined. Can join. Can't
Luca is
join.
sick.
Luca is sick, and he granted me to decide whatever I want on his behalf. I'm joking.
That's actually what he said. So
Yeah. Also, Federico told me he can join, probably. I don't know about Carlos, Andrea, and Andrea is here.
I'm here.
Okay,
Yeah.
Andrea,
You call me and I'm here.
perfect. Mark and Greg accepted, but I don't know if they join. Let's wait a couple of minutes. Could be the
Carlos will be the big wonder.
Yep.
Uh,
Meanwhile, let's share my
Hendrik?
screen. Hendrik actually is not a core maintainer,
Yeah,
so
you're right.
he can join if he want, but I did not
And get the
send
invite.
the invite to others. Okay, Thomas, you just 30 minutes. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I would say let's start. Maybe someone will join in the middle. First of all, it's nice to see all of you together. This is a rare occasion, so let's start. Question: have you read my proposal already, or I should give a brief overview of that? Yeah, maybe I will give a very brief overview. Okay, basically, my proposal is very simple. It's not so complex. Is in brief, it is about how to manage the Falco release cycle, and this also has an impact on how manage the roadmap. The proposal basically is we will split each Falco release cycle that is usually a 16-week period. We will split this period into 3 iterations. The first iteration, 8 weeks long, will be used for developing new feature improvements, basically similar as we do already now. Then there will be other 4 weeks, the second iteration that I call it. Let me scroll my screen. I'm talking about this stuff. The other 4 weeks will be spent to stabilizing the feature and the improvement that are under development. This iteration, in my opinion, is crucial because we will have a chance to test different features together at this point and see if everything is working as expected. And as usual, problem will arise. Sometime in past we already did something like that, but we did that in a non-structured way. We usually we do this operation when you see a pull request that bump the lib version, because usually at that point we are trying to test the feature that have been implemented in libs into Falco and try maybe different features together to see if everything works. So this for me it's really important. And another thing that I would expect is that at this stage libs maintainer release a new version of libs that can be tested with Falco. This is also important for another point, is because in my opinion, all the dependencies, I mean the libs, the plugins, and everything else Falco depends on, should have their own release schedule, and this schedule basically should be reverse engineered by the main Falco roadmap. So, for example, if we decide to have a testing phase after each iteration, okay, we should include in our process that a libs release should happen before each development iteration, just to give you an example. Finally, the last release, the last iteration will be the release preparation. This will last 4 weeks, and basically it's only dedicated to preparing the release, basically testing and bug fixing. In this regard, we already experimented with libs, okay? We already have a structured process for libs, so my proposal would be just to adopt the same approach also for Falco. We have not done it yet, so my proposal includes to review this a bit and port it also to Falco. Okay, what else? Okay.
I'm
The last...
Hey, this is Mark. Oh, sorry, could I ask a question?
Oh, sure.
Hi. You're gonna branch libs as well, right?
Actually, we decided to branch libs only when released. So we will develop on the main branch, and at each release, we will create a release branch for that specific release.
Oh, okay. So for a given Falco release, you will make a branch on libs for that Falco release. Is that right?
Yeah. Almost yes. Basically, what will happen is this. I would expect, for example, that just me give an example. During this phase, we of course will use the latest libs release available. Okay. At the end of this phase, we should release a lib version that will be used during this phase. Okay, and so on. So of course we will have a branch for this and another branch for the last phase.
Okay, got it. Yep, great.
Okay, perfect. Okay, the last thing that is very important is basically that this is just how we split the time, but the really important points of this proposal is that at the beginning of each iteration step, we should meet and decide what are priorities and what are the tasks we should focus on that iteration. And in this regard, my proposal is basically we should meet every month except for March, July, and November, because there is the 8 weeks development phase. So we could just decide to skip in the middle of this development phase. And another important thing is that at the end of each iteration step, we should generate, build, I don't know, a testing release, so that everyone in the community can test dev build Falco. Or if we agree on that, we could also think about shipping a Falco pre-release, for example, a release candidate. This is just to be defined. I want to talk about this with you. Maybe we can decide this later and not necessarily in this meeting. The real point here is that by creating a dev build or a pre-release or a release candidate at the end of this phase, we will have a chance to test the state of the development of Falco, and also give the possibility to community member to test it as well. Okay, I believe I will. Okay, I stop at this point. If you have any question, have any points, anything that you want to add to discuss.
Maybe a question for clarification. How will we handle all those cases in which we have things that we need to fix, or tiny features that we want Falco to have, or people request in the community when we are outside of the development process? Will they roll out to the next planning phase, or like how do we handle the case in which we cannot plan everything right from the beginning?
Okay, in theory, what we should do is that basically during this phase, okay, we should define which are the priorities at the beginning of the phase, but as usual, everything that's bug fixing or small feature that seems to be feasible during this phase can be implemented on a lazy consensus base. Okay, so the point is this: if we realize that just a small fix or a request from a community worth to be included, it's still okay to include it in this phase. The real problem is during the other two phases. During the other two phases, we have to decide together. For this reason, we need to meet at the beginning of each of these iteration. So, for example, if the community is requiring a bug fix, we can define criteria. We can meet and say, okay, this is really important. We have to prioritize this during this phase. Or we can say this does not match our priorities. We can postpone it to the next development cycle. Does it make sense?
I've kind of, Leo, I've noticed that a budget of 10 to 20% for unplanned work is typically about right. So I think we should never plan for 100% of any of us.
Yeah, we can do that.
20% margin, which typically,
we can do that. Although consider that most of the contributor, but also maintainer works is usually as a best effort. So I would expect that we will not able to finalize everything that we put in our roadmap. It happens. I believe it's normal and it's okay. Okay, just a question. Do you agree on having a monthly meeting, basically?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this is something that okay. I will keep note. Okay, next. Other question. Do you agree about having a test release at the end of each iteration? To be clear, this implies that Libs maintainer has to release a Libs version before or while each iteration. Also, plugin maintainers, for example, has to release the plugins that are bundled with Falco in time, and so on.
Yeah, not sure we want a real release, but just a release candle maybe, because do a real release include also some other stuff like being sure that this release is really stable. And sometimes we are not sure about that because we are doing the development, let's say. Don't know, what do you think about that?
I have no strong opinion. I would say that a real release, I mean a release candidate or something like that, will be better on a quality point of view. But I understand that it is a lot of work. So maybe we can just start using a pre-release tag or something like that. I mean a Git tag for pre-releases or something like that.
Yeah, probably we can decide it at the beginning of the cycle when we see what we have on the table, and we can understand if we can do a real release or just a mock release to check that all works good. Probably it depends real on the workload of that release, if we can do this for real or not.
Okay, basically we can experiment on the first time we introduce this process.
Yeah,
Okay,
probably
we will
yes.
see. Okay. Okay. Next point is basically what I said until now can be translated into a GitHub project. I already prepared this draft. I want to show an important thing that is here. Okay. This is how GitHub project manage iteration. Basically, it's just a time period. Okay. I basically tried to create iteration as per my proposal. So you can see 8 weeks period for the 0.36 dev, another 4 weeks for the stabilization phases, and another 4 weeks for the release preparation. Another important thing is that if you do some math, you realize that we have another 4 weeks available for breaks or quiet periods, and I basically tried to insert these break periods between each release, or for example, if I remember correctly, yes, during the Christmas week. Okay, we can decide how to use these 3 weeks for our convenience. And on GitHub project, actually, we can create how many views we want. This is not a problem. The only issue that I found with the GitHub project is that there is no real way to fully automate it. So we will have to do basically 2 things. One is we have to label high-level tasks, because otherwise it's impossible to manage all this stuff. All the issue and all the previous year, it does not make sense. It's just a mess in its way. The second thing is that we have to add the issue or the previous to the GitHub project. Actually, doing that is not so difficult. Is just, for example, you will see this here. You just have to add it to the Falco roadmap, but this is still a job that we have to do, and usually we should do that during our monthly meeting. Would that work for you? Thoughts? Any comments?
I think we may need more specific labels. Right now, they are too generic bugs, and so we need to have more granularity about how to tag the issues and PRs.
Yeah, for sure. For example, I believe we have to differentiate between feature and improvement, because they usually are 2 different things. And currently, we just use kind feature for almost everything, and kind bugs for things that doesn't work. And do you have already in mind are you thinking already to some labels or things that we can add?
I think it's important also to notice which PRs are blocker or not. for example? Which one concerns performances or just end users experience? Just to be sure how to make a triage between and how to prioritize.
Okay. I'm just keeping note, but for sure we will need another round to define
Sure.
this stuff. Yeah.
I think this is a global pattern to all our repositories, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe we can just look to other projects and see what they do. By the way, on this regard, and this is the very last point of my points, is basically that on top of my proposal, I would also like to have a dedicated working group to manage the for everything related to project management and the roadmap. Basically, it will be a group of persons that will focus on the process that we have discussed today and will help us to manage it. The nice thing of having such a working group is that we can also involve non-code contributors to help us to manage the roadmap and do related duties like, for example, triaging or stuff like that. This is also perfectly fine with our governance, since we as a core maintainer can delegate some responsibility to the working group. So my suggestion is just take advantage of this possibility. Let me know what you think. We will probably need to do at some point a call to action and find volunteers that want to participate. What I imagine is a working group with some core maintainers plus some other members from the community that work together and help us to manage this process. What do you think?
It's good, but you definitely need to have like some sort of like minimum threshold of relationship distribution between like technical people and non-technical people, because that's how you end up having like organizational things like, oh, you should implement this, and then you get to the technical people and they're like, yeah, we need to implement like 5 other things before we can start on this. So, you know, you need someone that can actually be at those meetings and be like, we need to wait on that.
Yeah,
I agree with Mark.
That makes sense. That makes sense. That totally makes sense. Okay, I agree with that, but still, I believe you agree that we need such working group at least at the first stage. I don't know. This in the future can become another thing, but honestly, I really believe that we need help. Because as now, I don't believe we have so much time to spend in overhead or things like that.
Yeah, the important. Sorry, but go, Jason.
No, you can go on.
No, the idea is that these shouldn't become a big overhead for us. So if we find a way to delegate something, it's good.
Okay. This is exactly what this is exactly my intention. Yeah.
Go, Jason.
Jason?
I wanted to raise that I think the GitHub project should not contain PRs, but just issues, because we usually have.
Okay.
So first point is we don't regularly create issues for every PR that we make, because we try to open PRs fastly to achieve something. But in the end, it will be more useful to have even a broader or more descriptive issues and more PRs attached to it. Also because PRs that gets open, closed like very frequently, like we will start filling up the project without, not even that much time. So point first is let's use issues if everyone agrees instead of also PRs. And second point is, are we doing this in the first iterations for just libs and Falco, or does anyone also plan to add other repositories, just like, I don't know, the plugins, the website or something like that? Because that will be extra work, I think.
I would say let's try with just libs and Falco at first time, but I don't know. This is my opinion.
In my proposal, I defined the scope as all core repository because they in some way are dependent. For example, I give an example. If we decide to ship the mother prop into Falco 0.35, probably we also have to modify the charts. And this need coordination. So in some way, this should be translated into our roadmap. Now, I believe that for sure we can focus on Falcon libs, but every time we need, we have a dependency on another repository, we have to put it into the roadmap. Does it make sense?
Yeah, as a final goal, I agree with you, but as a first step, probably I will focus on just on Falco and libs.
Yeah, sure. But it would be natural because just think the example that I did before. You probably will not care about charts, but at some point we will need just an issue chart that explain that we have to introduce a new option into the chart. When you create the issue, basically at the same time you should add it to the roadmap, and that's it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So
I also think we need multi-level issues. For example, we need a really global overview of what are expecting to do, what we are expecting to do in the next few months. It will be an umbrella issue with low details about the features, and an umbrella issue for this version, an umbrella issue for these versions, just to make people aware of what we are working on right now. Because it's not convenient to follow a roadmap in a board and to know what will be released in the next version.
yeah, that makes sense. This is basically what I wrote here with high-level goals. I mean, there should be some issue labeled like high-level goal. Actually, they are not exactly OKRs as Melissa suggested, but it's a very. But by the way, I like OKRs, but I just think it's too much for us. But something more simpler that is basically defined. We want this feature in Falco, and we target it for a Falco release. Thomas, I don't know if this is what you meant.
More or less, yes, basically, yes.
Yeah, okay. By the way, feel free to write your thoughts in the document if in case I miss something, or I don't know if someone is taking also notes. Other than that, there are no other points on my side. So I see Melissa had a few points, so feel free to talk.
Yeah, I think the next one is a natural extension to what Thomas just said for each release. I think we should have, I don't know, what do you think is realistic? 10 to 20 maximum high level features? I think anything beyond is too granular for end users to follow.
Actually, in my experience, it really depends on the size of the feature.
Mhm.
For example, to reiterate on the mother probe, it took like 1 year. It's correct, Andrea? I don't remember how long it took.
Yeah, let's say yes, but this was something like XXXL or something like that. So
Exactly. Yeah.
feature like that, we cannot do feature like that in just one release, I suppose. So yeah, we have to focus on little feature that can go in just one shot, in just one release of Falco.
Exactly. And just to report my historical experience with Falco, we usually ship the very few features per year. Actually, the most thing we ship are just improvements. So in my opinion, it's really important to split those two things.
Mhm.
And say maybe we can have 1, 2, 3 big features per release, and then we have a set of, I don't know, 5, 10 improvements and X bug fixes, because it's really impossible to know beforehand how many big bug fixing we will have into a release.
Maybe we could even have 5 high-level features that carry on between releases. You know, the one is performance improvements, the other one is stability improvements.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Or maybe documentation or how to use Falco the most effective way. Can I just agree everyone on 5 to 6 of these features that are not unique to one specific release.
Okay.
And
So
then,
yeah. Okay.
yeah, let's first write that down.
Yes, please continue.
Yeah, and then definitely one criticism I am aware, and that I also agree with, is that we need to ship a couple of features faster, or it's not good that Falco hasn't evolved much in terms of really groundbreaking capabilities in the last 1 to 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to,
Yeah,
know, that stuff more effectively. That's what I'm talking about. And I mean, but then on the other hand, there has been a lot of, the modern BPF, but that didn't improve from the end user experience, how to use the tool more effectively to get the job done. It's just a different.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a difference between the features. So we've done a lot, like,
I will,
integration.
sorry, but
yeah, go ahead.
I will slightly disagree with the fact that the Modern Pro is not an improvement on usability, because like the amount of times that people ask like, hey, this doesn't work on this particular kernel. And now it's like, well, just try the modern one and it probably work. And you're done. Instead of like, oh, wait for the next driver kit release so we can support it, get everything built. It is a usability for users.
Oh, that's true, especially after KubeCon. I think at the Falco booth, the vast majority of people passing by asking questions, the first pain point is installation issues all the time. So
Yep.
I think, yeah, I'm on board with Mauro on this. But I
Yeah,
also agree with
and
you, Melissa. I mean, about features, do you have like I don't know, some bullet points, some specific that you're referring to, the ones that we miss in this moment?
Yeah, so maybe we should even split those new features into make it easier to use as Falco is today versus features that really push Falco, the whole industry, more forward. Maybe that's a better way of phrasing it. Okay, and now focusing and zooming in into the second part is definitely we need stronger and better, more robust signals. I think the work Lorenzo is starting with the symlink resolution of the executable path, or some of the work we've done before with the new executable in a binary in a container, that was a great start, but we need a lot more of that. And that includes all of the LSM hooks. So I think we're a little bit behind compared to the other tools. And then, so I personally get a lot of pressure here from a lot of people that they want or need anomaly detection. So that's definitely one feature I'm going to try to push in the summer, if that's okay with everyone.
yeah, but I totally agree with that. And at this point, if we all agree on this, we will probably have the next meeting to talk about priorities in June. I mean, immediately after this release. So let's get prepared for that because I'm pretty sure we'll have a lot of topics to talk about.
Leo, I think we need to share some topics between us before the call. Otherwise, the call will last something like 10 hours or something like that, because there are a lot of topics to discuss and we need at least to agree about some points before the call, in my opinion.
Okay, so maybe we can just have like proposals or something like that.
Maybe just a Slack channel in which we talk about that, I think, without too much of a red, probably. And not sure if...
Okay, this is a good point. Just to explain the current state. We cannot create channels, Slack channels in the Kubernetes Slack. We can create channels, both public and private, in the CNCF Slack channel. But every time we create a private channel, we can't manage it. I mean, we can't, for example, archive the channel or manage the people that are in the private channel.
I think, Leo, maybe we can solve this instead of using a Slack channel. The document that you have here, the agenda of the meeting, we can add some sort of rule and agreement among all of us that everyone needs to fill up their portion of the agenda and be prepared right at the moment of the meeting. In that way, about release goals, we will have a list proposed by everyone, which probably will contain duplicates or something. Maybe let's remove those if we discover that. And right at the moment of the call, it will just be a matter of like listing all those and potentially voting to prioritize the most popular ones. Instead of like discussing a channel.
Yeah, probably yes. It's not so easy to discuss on an committee file, but we can try to do that. Otherwise, yeah, if we cannot create a Slack channel, it's okay, an committee file.
No, yeah, I mean,
Mauro?
my point is maybe the discussion is valuable to have it online during the call, whereas the collecting the points can be done offline on the document.
Yeah, this for sure, for sure.
I just wanted to ask, is the management thing a private channel problem? Could we have a public channel for discussions on containers?
Yep.
Because like it's an open source project, there's no need for us to like be hiding anyways. Let's just have a channel that's like maintainer discussion or something. We just talk there.
I agree with that, because in general, even if you read our governance, basically everything should be public by default, unless sensitive stuff. Of course, it's normal that some discussion go private, but in general, it would be nice to have everything public. I believe that a Falco channel could work, but also we could create a GitHub issue and just comment on top of that. For example, we do usually tracking issue for release. We can just do tracking issue for development iteration, and every maintainer can just add a comment and say, I would like to discuss this point on our next meeting and so on. I don't know, we can just decide.
I feel like that could just get out of hand like really quick. Like if 2 or 3 people just start discussing different things and all of a sudden you end up having like 50 comments, all of them kind of unrelated to each other, but also related to like 2 or 3 other comments. And keeping context might become like a little hard, but we can try it.
Yeah, of course, the real point is that we have to agree on some rules, and we should be a bit disciplined on that. But I agree.
I don't want to create more chaos at this point, but there is this thing that I noticed in the CNCF mentoring program, the one that I needed to use for the Google Summer of Code application. And basically they just use GitHub discussions, which is potentially coupled with issues and also the project. And that's basically a forum. I think forum is the right word.
Okay.
So we can have like potentially a new topic saying, hey, next release planning meeting, and have chats, poll, I don't know, privileges constraint for just maintainers or admins. I mean, so I think that's, and people can vote as well. If you can, so I think maybe let's explore this before becoming crazy about finding the right tool, because we may have something ready out of the box and simple to use.
I have a simple proposal. This should be the first point that the working group should solve. I mean, decide where to discuss this stuff. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Melissa, maybe you want to continue on your points.
Yeah, so the next one, discuss procedures. I'm kind of a little biased. I want more stability, but I also want to move faster. And then we have limited reviewers, and certain people of us are more specialized in some areas, so not everyone can review every PR as good as some other people. So there's that constraint as well. How can we collectively still try to move faster without breaking stuff unnecessarily?
Yeah,
So
I totally agree. I just highlighted one of our principle that basically is copied by Kubernetes, that evolution is better than stagnation. stagnation. So I totally agree that we need more stability, but at the same time, we need to move faster.
The answer is that we need more people, in my opinion.
Of course, we need more people,
Yeah.
but one
Easy
thing
peasy.
yeah, but one thing that I want to mention is that a lot of time, because of poor testing, or just because we tried to merge everything the last month, a lot of issue, a lot of bugs, a lot of problem raised up at the same time, and it was really hard to manage. The spirit of this proposal is also to anticipate problem. Okay, so you will have at least 3 points on time in which you can just dig into problem and make sure that everything is working as expected. In my opinion, this should also improve stability.
Yeah, let's say we are slowing down in time, but we gain some stability with this approach, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's a trade-off.
Yeah, I bet that we will not deny stuff, because we spent a lot of weeks in the last period. I mean, when we are close to a release, just to fix issue that arise at the last moment. So perhaps Melissa, one thing that is going on the direction you have in mind is that we probably have to define testing and QA procedures.
Mhm.
And even if some tests must be done manually, like smoke test, something like that, in my opinion, it would be a huge thing, because I don't know you, but I personally test Falco dev builds before the release. I believe any one of us did something like that in the past. So my point is just we need a formal procedure to do that. And by the way, we can ask community members to do that. And this is really important. I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of volunteers. But of course, if we don't give them a guidance, I mean clear instruction on what to do, they can't help.
Yeah, we love testing production.
Perfect. And so there's one other point. I'm just going to sneak it into that one. We need better criteria. So I think the best example is for rules. We have a lot of, it's great that community members propose rules, but sometimes they don't meet the quality that we're expecting, but at the same time, we don't have it written down anywhere. And I think during KubeCon, we also discussed that perhaps in the future, we should refactor everything and really consolidate 20 to 30 baseline rules that are good, that everyone can use out of the box, versus other rules that are being contributed by the community that are too specialized or not really relevant for some industries or some companies. They shouldn't be in the default rule set. All I'm saying. There's some rules that are more signatures. They just look for command args and specific substrings. And this is like just so easy to circumvent. In my definition, not a good rule.
Yeah, I agree with that. We need to focus on just the main rule. Otherwise, we will have tons of them, and it will become unusable.
Moreover, the more rules we had, the slower Falco gets. So
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And by the way, we also have to define precise releasing rules for rules, because we already know that we created some problems, because now we have the distribution system, so there can be Falco instance that automatically updates the rules from our GitHub repository. So I totally agree on that. I believe in general that we have to define criteria for everything, because we don't have. At least maybe we have those in our minds, but are not documented.
yeah, for rules, for example, there are some guidelines. I wrote those for the versioning part, but there is no automatic check for anyone. So just for everyone to be aware, I'm trying to involve Lorenzo Susini working on that. So he's experimented a little bit, trying to find out a way to automate this, but that's still in process. So we will not be covered on that perspective, probably by 0.35. So yeah, I agree with Leo. Plus, I think we set it up, the whole Falco CTL and automatic distribution, to potentially have more than one rule set to attach for in a Falco installation, but we just pull the default rule set nowadays. So maybe a good point is, how do we split the default rule set? And or maybe, yeah, how do we split it? And which of those parts are bundled in the default Falco installation? In that way, if we reason in this way, we can have, I don't know, different use cases, split it by use cases, different criteria, and maybe quality bar for each of the pieces of YAML that we distribute. So maybe that's the discussion we need to do first, not defining the criteria, but defining what are the rule set fragments that we want to support, potential.
Yeah.
So I've been looking into people at QCon. They said, EKS runtime security just works out of the box, and they have these like 20, 30 rules. I looked at some of them. Some are good, generic, others I'm not so sure about. But I think that's probably the way we want to go, to look at the current rules and also consult all of the experts we have in our team, and then come up with a list of, I think 20 sounds good to me. 20 strong rules.
I agree. I totally agree.
By the way, we have about 80 rules, I think, nowadays in the default rule set, but not all of those are enabled by default. I haven't really counted, but it may be that we actually have more closer to 50 actually enabled. So yeah, this is good, but maybe we can be more clear by just making a default rule set containing only the enabled ones, and then having more add-ons basically that people can just turn on and off. With Falco CTL, it may become easier over the next few Falco releases. So yeah, just that.
Yeah, and purchased a little bit by capabilities. So there's, every organization, they're looking for these baseline detections they want to have out of the box, and they don't want to learn, don't want to think about. For example, the new executable is a good one. Network, there are 2 or 3 also good ones. Yeah, so, but if it's like too specific, one specific pseudo privilege escalation based on CVE number, that's not a generic detection. That's pretty,
I believe we will have a lot of things to talk about in the next meeting. But this is good. This is good. This means that we are working to improve stuff. We are close. I mean, the time is running out. At this point, I would ask if there are any other topics you want to discuss. Otherwise, I will proceed to define action items. I mean, next step that we have to do immediately.
I would say let's go with the next step, with the action item.
Okay. One thing that first of all, I have a question for all, but I believe we agree on that. For sure, I will. Okay, this is one thing that I will do. I will finish to write the proposal. And of course, I will integrate your feedback, and then I will schedule the next meeting. But before asking for other action items, I would ask everyone: do you agree to try this new process starting from the next Falco release? I mean, basically from June.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Okay. Nobody disagree?
yes.
Okay. Perfect. This is most important thing. Now, I believe we need at least one volunteer to kick off the working group. I don't mean that this person has to manage the work group forever, but someone that take care of this. I don't know if there is any volunteer. I know that Luca would like to work on this, but maybe he helps. Okay. Nobody? Okay. I will take care of this.
It's like the MC in the community call at this point.
Yeah, it's exactly it's the same. Yeah. I think Luca could help on this because he recently started one and
Yeah, let's say it
we-
depends on what we have to do. If this is a small job, I can help him. Otherwise, yeah, I need people to. I need help too.
Okay, we will discuss about this offline. And let me check again this stuff just to say, okay, we said, okay.
One thing for sure is the way of communication. Otherwise, we have no topics to discuss in the next call. I think because the next call will be the kickoff one with the discussion of all the topics. So if we cannot communicate before that, we are dead.
Would you like to take care of this? I mean, trying to experiment or decide.
Okay, it's okay.
Okay, it's part
Leo.
of, no. It's part of the working group stuff, but maybe you can help on this.
Yeah, sure.
Leah, you can definitely put me as sorry, we always use the concept of DRI, direct responsible individual. But for criteria or for really getting the good rules out, because since I mean I'm one of the few core maintainers who uses that tool in production setting, I can probably help.
Yeah, probably. I don't use Valk. I hate it.
I know that.
Do you like criteria maker?
Yeah, criteria. That's fine.
Criteria maker.
But listen to
Criteria maker.
next to it, right?
I use only Scap Open.
Okay. I believe this would be enough to start this thing starting from the next Falco release. For sure there is one thing that I believe we have to discuss is the question about labels, because we have to identify how to do this. To be honest, I need a bit of help with the GitHub project because I experiment.
Thomas.
Yeah, I would say Tama.
Yep.
Thomas, would you like to help?
He volunteered himself earlier.
Yes, Leo, I want to help.
Okay. Okay. Any other action items?
What about improving the documentation? I mean, I don't know what our time is, but that also now into, graduation sort of topics.
Do you mean about the process?
Yeah, like general better documentation has been called out as improvements.
Okay, but this will be a task to put into the roadmap.
Yeah, probably yes.
Yeah, but of course I agree with that. Okay, maybe
it's all tied together with the, what are the features we're going to focus on, what are the criteria, what are the, high level. Yeah.
Also, documentation, we can probably get volunteers for like non-coders so that we don't get like actual
Exactly.
developers.
I love this idea.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know if someone took other notes privately.
I took some private notes. I will try to. I didn't want to mess up the thing that we're all watching, so I will try to make a diff and fill up all the things that we didn't. But
perfect. Anyway, this call is recorded, so in case someone needs it, I can download it from our account, so we can check it in case we miss something. But I believe we are done. Any other thoughts, comments?
No, I would say no. And the next call is the kickoff one. Would be the kickoff one.
The next call should be I mean, who will kick off the working group should also kick off this call. Between now and June, I would say, and then starting from June, we should have a regular meeting
Okay.
every month. Okay. By the way, about that, does this time works for you?
Yeah, I would say yes for me.
Also, the day of the week.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I will try to send some invite for June. Okay. I believe that we can call
You're
it
done.
today.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. Thank you, everyone. I hope we will do this really regularly to see you at least one time, once per month. And for today, just have a nice day.
Thank you, guys.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.